It's almost like there's too many things available for Cloud9 for you to really be able to ban against them.
And this is the thing with the current meta, right? We've been talking about how many heroes are available. There are 1,000 counter picks and comfort picks that can come in for each and every one of the teams here in the Vainglory 8. So when you're going up against a team as experienced as Cloud9, there's always going to be so much available. And likewise with Hammers, when we see them picking up things like, you know, they were playing the Jewel earlier and it worked wonders for them.
Yeah, Jewel, Kestrel is another big pick for Hammers. Koshka is going to be banned here by Cloud9 despite having Grace. So that just shows how much respect they have for what Archaic just did to them. I can't say I blame them, even though they do have the Grace, but that does mean Kestrel going to come through. This has been one of Starting All Over's biggest picks throughout the season. It's last season was his fallback after the Ringo, so there's a lot of comfort there.
I feel like we need to point out the fact that Baron has made it all the way through to the final picks for Cloud9 here.
Yeah, Baron will be really good in this competition because Baron is going to outscale and outrange the Kestrel. And can blow her up because a weapon Kestrel can't build that much armor, unfortunately. And you have Grace that's going to give Baron that that Divine Intervention, heal, that protection, and that heal. So Baron would be good if Old School can play it, but I'm not sure he can. So they may opt for the Ringo here potentially and do Cruel again.
They've played the Baron a couple of times this season to very mixed results, 50% win rate in 2 games. So
Glaive
definitely has, again, it's just not something that they're really putting an emphasis on as far as playing. But this Glaive...
Glaive Baptiste potentially here coming out. That's a lot of CC coming out that can get that Kestrel out of position. Ordain, the Fearsome Shade. That's a lot of CC that could work into the composition here. And then Hammers will probably pick Samuel potentially. That's what they like playing. That's like a meta composition that they played a lot in Challengers, etc. So Cloud9 may take away the Samuel, or they may go for the Baptiste option here. Oh, Baron!
Baron comes through. Old School going to bring that one to the table alongside this Glaive going into the jungle.
Old School on Baron.
Now does this then force the side of Hammers? I mean, Idris is available if they want to flex that Kestrel down into the jungle.
Yeah, but CP Kestrel is not going to be good into a Grace and a Glaive. No way.
Or they could go into the like a Crystal Blackfeather. I think it almost forces them into, because
they may do
that can deal with the Baron and something that can get past both the Grace and the Glaive.
They may do Crystal BF or Samuel. Their comfort is going to be Samuel, so that may show up, but Crystal BF might be their best option here potentially, or they can be risky and try Taka into this, but it's going to be risky. But yeah, they're going to go with Samuel here.
All right, so very long-range poke-heavy composition coming out from Hammers, but quite the opposite coming out from Cloud9. They have a lot of burst damage with that Glaive and that Baron coming on through. Are we anticipating that this might be a double weapon power composition coming out from Cloud9 as well? Like, we've not really seen very many CP Glaives recently.
Yeah, that would be great because they're both squishy. They're not going to build... Kestrel probably won't build armor. She'll be 4-item Kestrel. So Glaive Tension Bow with Baron Tension Bow is going to work really well into that.
All right, well, we'll see. Obviously, double weapon power historically is usually a very early game composition. You got to roll that before
Grace
they can
Glaive.
build the fence.
Grace and Glaive are a very early game duo as well, so I expect to see heavy pressure. Actually, probably in the lane more so than even in the jungle, because Glaive is just so efficient at those lane ganks. But we could very well see them going into the jungle and looking for afterburns there too.
All right, well, we'll see if they can find those afterburns. We're going into the final game of the week. This has been a ridiculous week of Vainglory 8. What's the expectation of this game, gentlemen? Are we going to see the same level of bloodbath that we've seen at so many games here in the Vainglory 8 this week?
Yeah, I love Joseph's Glaive and Gabe on Grace. The double burst damage that's come out Baron and a Glaive. I think Cloud9 is probably going to take this.
All right, well, we'll see if they're going to be able to. It's time to jump on into this one, though. It's time to get into the final game of this week of the Vainglory 8 here in North America. Let us know who you're supporting on social media. Hashtag Vainglory 8. Tag your team, either Cloud9 or the Hollywood Hammers. But it's time to jump into the final game for Hollywood Hammers up against Cloud9.
All right, let's go. Let's see who can win this game and claim first place here in Week 2 of Split 2. This is such an important match here. And starting all over, goes back to the weapon Kestrel. No surprise there. But on the other side, you see Gabe Vizzle gets the Grace. They get the Baron as well. And they're going to pair it up with the Glaive. That seems like a very powerful composition.
It is, and you know, we already talked, well, at least we heard Sui earlier talking about how good Grace is into Kestrel. the long range of that Benediction can really make it difficult, especially in the early game, for starting to avoid that damage. This is going to be all about the siege and the mid-game for Hammers. If this old school Baron is allowed to come online, as well as Joseph being on this glaive here in the jungle, obviously the afterburn into Baron is going to be a devastating combination. So it's going to be a fun game for us here, Humanist.
Do we expect to see Joseph just go like the Tension Bow, Poison Shiv, defense, utility kind of build at this point? I mean,
he has options. So he can go with that kind of bursty, sustainy build, or he could go into a just an all-out burst Tension Bow Aftershock proc, which would give him the additional cooldown on that repositioning of the Afterburn, and that's going to make Old School's life a lot easier, because then he has a lot more ability to flex how he uses the Afterburn. He can use it to protect Old School, or he can use it to set up an engagement.
That feels like it would be pretty useful. Not only that, I mean, having more Afterburns, you knocking Archaic out of this Drifting Dark, stuff like that could be pretty helpful to him and his team. Currently, Gabe Bissell just hanging out here, and he's less useful once Playboy Afro is there. Playboy Afro can abuse the range that he has. Also, just if they ever need to trade damage, he just throws out that sigil, heals up his ally and himself. So right now, it's an opportunity. Old School goes back to base with Gabe Bissell, pick up a few items and make their way out. At this point, it's pretty quiet across the map.
Yeah, obviously the side of Cloud9 is either going to have to look for a good gank with the Glaive Grace combination, or wait for Old School to come online to really pick some fights. And it almost goes the same for Hammers. You know, Samuel really in this early game is going to be a little bit of a struggle. He's going to be susceptible to this Glaive. And Joseph actually does steal away that Elder Treant there.
Yeah, Archaic trolled out a little bit. He committed Drifting Dark and Malice and Verdict, burned it down, and Joseph just takes it at the end. So a nice play by Joseph there.
Definitely a beautiful play, and as the game gets later, Samuel has some potential. He's actually putting down some vision for himself too, which is pretty smart. He has the potential to really be a nuisance for Glaive, but again, those afterburns, if he's, like you mentioned, able to knock him out of the Drifting Dark, can be an absolutely huge advantage for the side of Cloud9. But look at the damage coming down on this turret already, Humanist.
Serious damage. Old School used jump jets. I thought he was going to just try to find an attack on the starting, or maybe Archaic just to push them back, but he's just trying to grab those last hits as he is under turret, and it becomes a bit more difficult for him in that situation. The whole time, Joseph continues to rotate through the jungle, level 4 at this point. Let's see if someone can claim the last Elder Treant spawn here. Gave his little Benediction back up into lane starting, was putting on a bit of damage on him. It looks like this is probably just going to be forfeit until the jungle will intensify, shop will spawn.
Yeah, definitely too risky for either team to try to take it. The time frame it's alive is still so short that it's difficult to, at least for one player, to clear it out at this point. It does look like Joseph is committing into, very likely, a Tension Bow. So maybe looking to really just be that bursty Glaive that we know and love. Starting all over, getting the speed boost from the Imperial Sigil. Gonna have to be careful though here, Humanist. Here comes Cloud9.
He has the trap down, but he's waiting to spring it. He wanted to squish your target. Joseph just walks through. He's like, nothing to see here, and I'll take the mid away from you. So how does it feel, Hammers, to have wasted your time?
Yeah, Twisted Stroke is absolutely an amazing ability for cleaning up a last hit, especially with the weapon Glaive. And that's something that we've seen Joseph really just be good at in general, is those last hits on his farm. And that's really an advantage that Cloud9 has here. It's putting him up about 500 gold here, 6 CS advantage in the jungle, as well as a couple CS here in the lane. Nothing major, no objectives taken, but here we go, Humanist.
Bright Bulwark down from Playboy Afro will cancel off the aggression coming out of Joseph. Joseph did use his boots there, Day. So this is a large cooldown for him. Now, yeah, he has Afterburn. Yeah, he can reposition someone, but it's really nice to have those boots up.
Yeah, it is nice to have those boots, especially for Glaive. Might get you in a little bit of a better position to get a good Afterburn, making sure you knock Starting All Over or Archaic into Baron. I almost wouldn't be shocked here if in the next couple levels we see Archaic pick up an Infusion and really try to get some lane aggression down. That turret's already down to half health, and the siege potential out of Samuel and Kestrel is absolutely huge. Old School making a good rotation down to the backs, making sure he gets that ambient. Trying to.
They're gonna lose the turret though.
Line, but man, here's the damage.
Maybe not. Starting. Really respecting Gabe Vizzle jumping in there. I feel like if they could have committed, but they didn't have the vision down. Afterburn gonna be blocked off. Starting, trying to move back, dropping incredibly low. Playboy Afro will be okay. Archaic as well. Probably Archaic grabs the mid and then moves back up to try and hold the lane here with Playboy Afro, because C9, they're going to move forward and they're going to get their own damage out onto this turret. They're doing pretty well at this point as well. Playboy Afro, he did go for just the Crucible first. What are your thoughts on Playboy Afro's itemization?
The Crucible is nice just because it makes your Imperial Sigil a lot more useful to the team. Obviously, if you let it burn down on all 3 members, it's not quite as effective, but you actually get a large burst on the entire team if you use the Imperial Sigil's proc right away. Starting all over, looking to get some poke damage down here. We'll almost maybe even see a War Treads come out second of Playboy Afro, really looking to get a lot of engage potential. And here's the damage that we were talking about this siege.
Yeah, Starting had that level 5 infusion ticking, and they're able to take this out. Drifting Dark flies forward, and Archaic with the Malice and Verdict, they are able to pick that up. So Hammers strike first, not first blood, but first on the map. First objective blood.
Yeah, overall a pretty tame game as far as the kills go. A little disappointing coming off of those Hammers tempo games where it was just kills, but Hammers obviously taking the objective route there is going to put a little bit of additional gold in their pocket, but not a very huge lead for them. And now Starting has to be careful as Joseph has rotated up to the lane, and Glaive absolutely great at ganking.
Baron's also at the point, and you can see the splash damage connecting on a Starting. If he jump jets and actually hits Starting with the Sorrow Blade Tension Bow, I mean, the Kestrel's so squishy. He's, for all intents and purposes, if he's able to get on target, he's online there. But overall, obviously he's not. He wants to pick up some more weapon damage before he really can start to trade.
Yeah, he definitely needs the additional weapon damage to just ensure the kills. Here Old School comes now, looking to get some damage down, and here we go.
One shot, Starting's held in place. Iron Cannon's gonna come down. Joseph doesn't find the afterburn he wants. Playboy After will die mid-arcane passage. Divine intervention I can't talk on a Joseph. Old School jumps forward, trading with Starting there, and Starting's gonna go down. On his deathbed, he'll pick up his Tyrant's Monocle, so that's going to be a nice pickup for him. But in that trade, it was a huge win for C9. Archaic's here in the Drifting Dark. What's the play here? He's hanging around, but he has to respect that Joseph and Gabe could just jump on him and kill him. I'm kind of surprised that they actually didn't. They must have thought they were going to take the turret.
Yeah, it was very, very close. The Glaive just has so much damage, especially with this Tension Bow. The Pierce really kind of getting through some of that defense that the turret naturally has. Overall, not really a big advantage for either team. We have a little positioning advantage with that first turret being down for Hammers, but Old School working into this third item on Baron is going to start to be a pretty big threat here very, very soon, and Hammers have to be careful about protecting this turret as best they can. Giving 900 gold over to Cloud9 here could really start to really swing the favor of this game entirely into Cloud9's favor.
Yeah, let's see how they're going to play it out here. Old School still playing quite defensively, waiting for his team to find that engage. There's their afterburn. Playboy Afro. They're trying to find the stun up on it. He War Treads backwards, starting all over, trying to find the Glimmer shots, throwing him through. One shot, not going to be connecting. It's a little bold to be throwing that out. And Old School finds the crit damage. Ion Cannon is going to clip Starting. Doesn't matter. Joseph is there. Cloud9, they take 2, they lose 1. They come out on top of this again. A bit of deja vu.
A little bit of deja vu, and now as these minions march, this should most certainly be a turret going on over to Cloud9. Afro, unable to pull the minions away, is now in a little bit of a dangerous position himself. He has to get out. Fortunately for him, Joseph does not have energy for an afterburn, and we have a pause here on the fold.
We do! Look at that. They probably were just like, wow. I think all our viewers, probably our casters, analysts, just need a moment to really absorb and process everything that's happened so far in this game. 10 minutes in. 4 kills for Cloud9 to the 2 of Hammers. Net worth not too far apart here. Cloud9 are in the at advantage at this point. Is it playing out how you kind of expected it, Denominator? Any surprises for you?
Not really. This composition that Cloud9 has set up for themselves is absolutely devastating amounts of damage. We see that Joseph is committing into a full weapon build here, so a lot of burst and sustain available to them. Again, Afro has worked into the War Tread, so there is still at 10 minutes no fountain available for the side of Hammers here, and so far it's been looking really good for Cloud9.
I think it's really interesting too. Like, okay, yeah, they're going double weapon, but we know that starting, he's really not going to be building much armor, if any. I mean, he's got a light armor, but he can't really afford to be picking up much defense. He's a squishy little kestrel. He needs to go all offense, right? So it actually works pretty well into him.
Yeah, and again, this is really the composition that Cloud9 has. They want to get to that back line and delete somebody immediately. The Afterburn's almost always going to be used to either put Archaic or starting in front of Old School on this Baron. It's basically just lining up a target to be deleted. I think the better target most times is going to be Archaic. He can't drop that active camo while taking damage like starting can. So I think you have to try to pick off Archaic. It's gonna be. I want to lean on Cloud9 this game, Humanist. I really just think they have a solid draft here.
Yeah, it does feel like Cloud9 probably takes this one home, but Hammers definitely have a chance. I think in that last engagement, it was actually Playboy Afro who got engaged on first, and then he tried to Arcane Passage, died mid Arcane Passage. That's always a hard one to watch.
It is indeed, and the Grace. Again, we talked about at the beginning, Sui made a great point about the Grace just handles so well into a Kestrel. Specifically being able to heal up Glaive. Glaive dives in, takes a couple of those Glimmer shots. Gabe Vizel's able to heal him up. That will reduce some of the incoming damage as well. So the Glaive is definitely a huge threat. Obviously the Baron as he comes on is going to be a very dominant late game carry. But this Grace Glaive combination is just really good into the entire lineup that Hammers has put together here.
Well, I mean, honestly, Denominator, we could continue to break this down. We run out of talking points at a certain point.
Yeah,
it's also catching us at the tail end of. It feels like a long cast of NA today.
Long cast of NA, as well as got to view some pretty awesome games in Europe this morning. So
don't exaggerate too much.
Hey, Salty Potatoes had a huge performance this week. They played really well all the way up until the end.
Yeah.
And being the team that came in with no points, they've made a name for themselves here in the Vainglory 8.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see, especially the team come out of the Challenger Series and do really well for themselves. I'm looking up at the overall point standings right now to see.
Sounds like we have some connection issues are the reason for this pause here right now. Yeah, looking at the point standings, Salty Potatoes has actually come up into that number 6 spot, Humanist. So if they're able to keep it up here, they are in a position that qualifies them to go to the Unified Finals. And again, coming into the Vainglory 8, picking up the place of a 0-point team. Looks like we may have lost Humanist there. All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to. We need Humanist. We need Humanist. I'm feeling very alone here, guys. Definitely hoping to get out of this pause here as soon as possible. The game has begun. Afro does clean up a couple of the CS here in the lane. Cloud9 looking to get some vision down of their own. Joseph cleaning out the jungle. And welcome back, Humanist. Nice to have you back in here with me today.
Wow, what a welcome. Of all the welcomes I could have had, Denominate, that was really the best way to bring it back.
I mean, I try to make you feel welcome, try to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Well, It's all working. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I was getting like this serious echo. I couldn't even understand what was being said, and then I restarted the program there. So we're back. We're good to go. We're unpaused. Look at that. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. An unpause coming through. We will be ending the matches today. It is official. Echo comes out for Gabe Vizzle. I heard this is a pretty good item for Grace, Denomine.
It's indeed a pretty good item. The additional damage reduction that it provides your team is absolutely huge, as well as obviously that burst heal, especially when paired with that crystal infusion. It's going to be available to Gabe Vizzle pretty frequently as this game goes on. Reaching level 8, he should have the overdrive on the benediction here very, very soon. And Old School has actually completed now the Tyrant's monocle as well on this Baron. So this is really where Baron starts to take off. And it looks like Gabe Vizzle getting caught out a little bit here.
Gabe walking back into the one shot there, just making sure Starting has good stats on his one shot, one kills. Old School doing quite a bit of damage, respectable damage, as you said. The afterburn's there. Joseph, he knocks Starting back. Can he get him? Yes, he can. Wow. They just burn Starting down. Why am I saying wow? We said it. It's obvious. You get on top of the Kestrel, you kill the Kestrel. That's how easy it is. Divine Intervention comes out onto Joseph. Playboy Afro will die if they can find the afterburn on him, but it's not going to happen. In fact, Goldmine are actually doing significant damage here, and C9 is like, all right, we had enough of that. We won the fight. Let's reset.
Yeah, and that fight in particular really showed that the burst that Glaive brings to the table can just really set somebody up for a free kill on over to Baron, especially because, you know, the Samuel and Kestrel are not really going to prioritize a heavy amount of defense at any point of this game. They'll very likely commit to probably the Aegis onto Archaic if this game goes late enough. And I think Starting really just has to go that Aegis as well. The additional block with the crowd control that's available here on the side of Cloud9. I think if you're going to go a 4-item offensive build, you have to have that block.
Oh, man. I really don't know what he's going to do here, but defense, I don't know if defense is the answer.
I think
I'm kind of going to go against you on that one.
Though.
Just say go full offense Starting.
5
channel my
starting.
I feel like he's going to have to be able to blow up a target. Like, if they get on him, he just feels like he's going to die.
Yeah, and you know, we're here at 13 minutes, no fountain yet. We have double dragon blood here on Playboy Afro, though, really prioritizing the healing that's available from the Imperial Sigils, and it's really dangerous because you don't always get that opportunity to heal your entire team with the Sigil. So a fountain has to come from Hammers here soon if they really want to start winning some of these fights.
You know, another thing that, you know, whenever I'm playing into a Lyra, I think about is that when they throw the Sigil, it's oftentimes very natural for the team to clump up on that Sigil to try and to take advantage of it. Like you said, it's hard to get it on your whole team, but oftentimes they try to. Well, Starting stunned up, big damage. Starting gets the active camo, tries to move back. Slumbering Husk looked like it's triggered off for Playboy after one shot. No, that's not coming through. Ion Cannon almost taking Starting out. They gotta run. They're on the run. Archaic. One more attack, he'd go down. Playboy Afro surely will. Starting all over will be able to pour it out. And C9, totally winning that fight.
Yeah, again, this composition is so devastating to squishy targets, and that's what in the entire side of Hammers is. Gabe Vizzle actually not even having to use that second Divine Intervention mid-fight. He uses it after the fight's over just to top his teammates up. So Divine Intervention will be coming up now in 20 seconds, and Echo is down for about 40. But the fountain is still available for Gabe Vizzle just because of that healing that comes out and the damage reduction. This is, as this game goes on, it's looking more and more clear that Cloud9 has just the easiest win conditions here, Humanist.
So are we just assuming Playboy Afro will not build a fountain this game?
I mean, he has the Husk now. It's so Imperial Sigil based that it's scary, because again, with a double kiting composition from this Kestrel and Samuel, it's just hard to get Imperial Sigil down on the entire team. This is a pretty risky call, and here comes
Ion Cannon. Jump jets forward. Archaic gets melted. Old School single-handedly almost taking Archaic down. Joseph jumps in. They just delete Starling all over. They rip right through him. A couple attacks, a couple of crits coming out of Old School. They've taken to Cloud9. Just once they get on a target, they just destroy them. There's a scout trap hanging out here from Hammers. Playboy Afro may try to make some Net Toilette Godly-esque kind of play, but I think he moves in, eats a bit of damage, and just is going to move just as quickly right on out of there. It could very well be Cloud9 just closing the game out here.
If they can find another clean fight like they have, I found Archaic and starting all over particularly very easy in that last fight. Again, just the amount of squish that's on the team. We actually see starting is only at 3 items and is now committing into that block. So this is kind of a rough situation. We are now 16 minutes in the game with no fountain completed for Hammers.
Starting has fun positioning here on the top side of the map. Echo's on cooldown, 22 seconds. Thanks for letting us know, Gabe. I actually like that ping out there. I know Starting reveals himself, and then active camos backwards. This is a benediction, and they see where Starting is. Now, Drifting Dark's down. He's going to start to kite backwards, actually pulling them a little bit further back than he'd probably want to be. Look at Joseph coming from the south side. Can he find the afterburn in? It's going to be blocked off. Starting just barely avoiding the engage here, time and time again. They're going to lose choke point turret, and Kraken's going to be pretty low. So Cloud9, based on their playstyle for the last few games, I would say that, yeah, they just back on out of here. It's Crystal Sentry time.
It is Crystal Sentry time, looking to take it down to only 1 life remaining, as well as getting around 225 gold into their pockets as well. Old School now has his 4th item complete and a weapon infusion, level 12 weapon infusion on Baron. This is a very good position for Cloud9 to be in. All they really have to do is find 1 fight. If they can kill Starting all over and Archaic, they can very likely just end the game here.
I think they definitely can, indeed. There's still a chance that Starting all over, if he wrapped around the backside and catches Old School by surprise, it could take him down, but it would take a huge element of surprise, of which they have not been able to achieve. Cloud9 moving forward as a unit, flares coming out. They see Hammers. Gabe is waiting to engage. Old School's not, though. He just jumps right forward, puts the damage out here. Glimmer shots coming out of Starting. The Ion Cannon clips him. Joseph with the afterburn, forcing them back, splitting the team apart. Archaic moves out towards the east, where it's Starting, getting deleted out towards the west. Playboy Afro will use that arcane passage just to buy some time, and that's really all it's going to be, just buying just a touch of time. Boosts himself with a sigil. Crystal Sentry will put him down. Ace. Joseph gets the kill. An ace for Cloud9, and almost too easy.
Yeah, this Baron in the hands of Old School has been absolutely amazing. Look at the damage taking down these turrets. Going to take them down simultaneously. And unless a miracle happens here, this should be Cloud9, the winners in the 1st place position here for the split. And that indeed, as Starting drops, that is 100% Cloud9 taking game number 3. The consistency of this team is just absolutely amazing.
Denominate, one of the things that is so awesome at the highest level of competition, that we have Hammers beat Cloud9 like super fast. Like, they just dumpstered them last game. And then this game, Cloud9 just come back and completely roll over Hammer. So a really good game. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I think that's pretty much all I got there. Again, the composition from Cloud9 just easily won out all of those trades. The Weapon Glaive, the Burst, followed by the Baron Jump Jets was just an easy pickings on a kill, and Cloud9 cleans that game up incredibly quickly.